Hey yo, hey yo. What's going on, y'all? Hey, my OBS was acting a little adverse for a little second. Shout out to OBS. I can't cuss you out right now because a little bit of time until the mark per YouTube. But I got a few words for y'all at the 2 minute mark. Few 4 letter words, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, it's all good. We here, we back, we made it. Monday. Mac World Live. How y'all doing? What's the word? What's going on with y'all? It's a little crazy kind of day today. I don't know. What kind of day was today? I don't know, man. I'm kind of down today, man, because I just realized a lot of things over this weekend about like just the world and people in general. I was just thinking about stuff, and I was watching a good boxing match. Devin Haney versus Vasyl Lomachenko. Devin Haney, one of my favorite fighters. Vasyl Lomachenko, good fighter. You know what I'm saying? Devin Haney won the fight. But it's like everybody trying to say that he ain't win. And I hate that everything that involved black people, man, they gotta turn it into this is what they do. Anything involving black people, they turn it into a culture war talking point. They gotta turn it cultural. Then they gotta turn it into like a talking point just to try and figure out why it's bad and go against it and shit. So I hate that the sport that I love, boxing, at a time we got a lot of good young black fighters on top. Tank Davis, Devin Haney, Shakur Stevenson. They try not to value the skill in the sport like that and try to come up with all these other reasons. They say Tank Davis, oh, he good. He knocking people out. But you know what's wrong with Tank? Tank Davis is a thug. He has a thug image. Then they say Devin Haney. Devin Haney, he good. You know what I'm saying? He always got his dad with him. He ain't a thug. So what they say about Devin Haney, y'all, he's boring. Devin Haney's boring. Like, they always want you to be the bad guy. He pushed the dude, Lomachenko. And they like, oh, that's his heel turn. Like, they always looking for you to be the bad guy to try to sell. Like, it's like they want you to play that role. And if you play that role, they kind of lean into it. Even if you just play like, well, I'm gonna play the support character bad guy. Like for the non-black fighter, it's cool. But when you try to be great, and this weekend Devin was great. You know what I'm saying? He beat dude. He beat him. It was a tough fight, but he definitely won, right? But just seeing these young fighters and seeing a lot of black fighters, man, just every time, we don't get that same fair shake. Like, it's like with the black fighter, right? So I'm watching the fight. They looking at Devin Haney, everything he doing, they critiquing it for the value of it. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he landing punches, but do those punches hurt? You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, the other dude, the bar set so low for him, he landing pit pat jabs and oh, he's getting through. Oh. And they even said some shit that was crazy. They was like, it's because of Devin Haney hair. Now he got dreads, coincidentally. They say the dreads, when he get hit, it make it look like his head is snapping back, and it make it look bad to the judges. These are the announcers saying this. Like, it's like a dog whistle, like, oh, rate him, take points away because he got dreads. Like, it's discouraging, man. It's just discouraging, man. Everything we do, it got to be turned into a political thing. But I told y'all, didn't I tell y'all though? What I say? I said black people, whether we like it or not, are a political party. Now, this is the discouraging part about it. Other black fighters that are his rivals, like Shakur Stevenson and stuff, leaning into that narrative and saying like, oh, it was a robbery and all that. Man, y'all already know what that's about. You know, black folks be quick to get off code sometimes, man. I love my people. I love them. But they be quick to get off code for real, man. Like, and just turn, like, you know what I mean? But kind of go with this clip I'm talking about today. And it took me, this clip is partly what got me down too. I ain't even gonna lie, cause this one of my favorite YouTubers. FD Signifier, always, y'all probably heard me talk about him before. He dropped some bomb documentaries. Part of, you know what I'm saying, what inspired me to do my channel in kind of the format that I'm doing it, you know what I mean? But dude always got some good info, man, and it's like it make you think, right? He remind me of one of my real smart guys, right, that I know and shit. And so I sit up and I be listening. And he was talking about the other day I was talking about Farrakhan, Louis Farrakhan, and he had this thumbnail on one of his videos where he was talking about the real black conservatives, and he had like pictures of like Farrakhan on there and Dr. Umar, and I'm like, what? Now I done heard stuff like that before. I done heard things saying that like pretty much what they doing is kind of echoing conservative ideologies and talking points, but I never really heard it broke down. And it was a lot of things I didn't really take into consideration that, you know, as I took it into consideration, it was like, damn, I never thought about that. And then he got on like Marcus Garvey too, who was one of my heroes, right? And I was like, damn, I never thought about that either. So it's kind of like that show, where it's like, I forget the name of it, but it was like somebody ruins everything, time ruins everything or whatever. Forget the name of the damn show, right? But he ruined it for me, man. And I was like, damn. I can't lie, he making a good ass point, but these are the people that, you know, was some of my heroes. And I'm like, damn, man, they got to Farrakhan too? They got to Uncle Farrakhan? But, I mean, it is what it is, man. I'm let y'all see that. Then speaking of that, speaking of culture, we got like a lot of women coming up dead, coming up shot. And they were showing something in New Orleans. We're gonna look at that in particular. And they making it seem like, you know, it's kind of like a violence thing, or it's just like random violence or something like that. But, you know, we got some different takes on it. And the question to be asked, because I really seen something in the comments on the video that I felt like personified the video the best, is, are these girls getting killed just chasing excitement? You know what I'm saying? They like, oh, I want to be here, I want to be there, I want to be in the midst of this, that, dressed this way, talking like that, with this type of dude, blah, 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 blah. Next thing you know, you got one life to live and your life gone. You know what I'm saying? Like, so we got to look at that, man. What's the reason? Is it just random? Or is there some real shit going on? And then I looked at something that was interesting. The Cash App guy, you know, he got stabbed, and you had a lot of different conspiracies about it, and people saying, oh, it was for this reason, it was for that reason. But they really started to talk about why he got stabbed, what really happened. And, you know, a lot of it boiled down to like some stuff going on, you know, like some rich people crimes type stuff, like a lifestyle that they live where, you know, it's a lot of money, a lot of stuff going on. I don't want to really say like, you know, but, you know, and they caught up to him apparently. So that's what it was. And I wanted to look at that because I thought it was interesting. And I just know it's a lot of conspiracies going around. Like, oh, you got killed because of this. You got killed because of that. Man, sometimes y'all think everybody with money just was out doing good, being a saint, just enjoying their money the way you would because you broke. You know what I'm saying? Not doing nothing to hurt nobody, and some shit just happened negative. These folks be up to shit, right? So we got to talk about it. And that's what we gonna do. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what we gonna do first? We gonna get these analytics together and then we gonna dive right on in. You know what it is. It's your boy Mac World live at 5, baby. Let's go. Hey, hey, hey. These niggas broke. It can't be fixed. Your ego very deflatable. I can't remember it. I had a cold rap I wrote to this. Yeah, let me see if I can remember it right at the end. Yeah. These niggas broke. It can't be fixed. Your ego very deflatable. I heard your story. It's barely relatable. Your bitch is trash. Biodegradable. My book. Hey, Mac World live at 5. You already know what it is. It's your boy Sean Mac in the building. Let's get it. Alright, man, I told y'all this one right here. Ooh. This one was rough on me, dude. This one in particular, because, you know, I always looked at the good brother is somebody that was, you know, somebody we could all look up to, man. So when I seen this, it made me think. So naturally, I got to make y'all think, man. You know, it's only fair. Let's go.
All you scared to death Negroes. Just sit down.
So we are outside in a secluded area where it is hopefully safe for me to break the rules about who I talk about on this channel. I am quite confident that some people are already about to hit the comment section or just click off the video outright. Peace to you all. For everyone else that wants to stick around and hear some useful critique of one of Black people's most legendary political figures, welcome, and give me a little grace while we get this started. Please don't click off the video. Just hear me out. I'm gonna be as nice as I possibly can. I am genuinely scared of talking bad about Louis Farrakhan. I'm hoping my people
watching it keep watching it, man.
I have family who are NOI, which stands for Nation of Islam. I'm from Chicago, the headquarters of NOI.
Thankful to Allah.
I'm the security force of the NOI, put in work before. And also Farrakhan is low-key immortal. The man is about to be 90 years old. He's beat colon cancer 3 times and he hasn't slowed down yet. Louis Farrakhan is a legend for a lot of reasons that should be appreciated. Farrakhan has fed and housed and inspired Black people in America and around the world really for nearly 60 years. He has shaped the Black political imagination and ostensibly carried on a lot of radical traditions. I'm not going to act like I didn't grow up near a lot of NOI people who were amazing people to grow up around. I
don't know what's
had men in the NOI who were always around to provide guidance and warmth when I was growing up. The NOI has done a lot for Black people, and I am not denying that as I get further into the critiques in this section. That said, 2 things can be true at once. Dehumanizing enemies and people that do harm to us is reactionary and ultimately harmful to everyone. Not only does this foster harmful ideologies amongst our problems we face, it is important not to think that my critique of Farrakhan and the NOI and similar Black political movements is a call to cancel all NOI-related connections, ideologies, and value contributions that they've made to Black people. But I do hope to bring into focus how harmful Farrakhan has been in the grand scheme of things. Farrakhan, as I said, is the most significant force in Black political thought of my generation.
Black people who were brought to this country were stripped of their names, language, culture, religion, God, and taken totally away from the history of themselves. Here are 30 million people who don't wear their own names, they wear your names. Who don't speak their own language, they speak English, which is not their language.
That said, the gist of things is that Farrakhan, while all of these good things, has a ton of obvious and inexcusable baggage that has been subterfuged and ignored for far too long. He is the most significant voice in Black political thought and has saved countless lives, but he's also played in our faces and kind of wasted our time for the last 60 years while steering Black political thought away from anything useful or meaningful pretty much the whole time. So let's get into the easy stuff, the stuff that really should not be controversial. First and foremost, the NOI is low-key a cult. Like, surely y'all know this, right? If you've read the autobiography of Malcolm X, you understand that what the NOI believes is not that far from Scientology.
About 6,600 years ago, when 70% of the people were satisfied and 30% were dissatisfied, among the dissatisfied was born a Mr. Yakub. He was born to create trouble, to break the peace, and to kill.
Big head scientist.
Though he was a black man, Mr. Yakub, embittered toward Allah now, decided as revenge to create upon the earth a devil race, a bleached out white race of people. From his studies, the big head scientist knew that black men contained 2 germs, black and brown. He knew that the brown germ stayed dormant, as being the lighter of 2 germs, it was Elijah Muhammad teaches that the greatest and mightiest God who appeared on earth was Master W.D. Bard. He came from the east to the west, appearing in North America at a time when the history and the prophecy that is written was coming to realization. I was to learn later that Elijah Muhammad's tales, like this one of Yakub, infuriated the Muslims of the East. While at Mecca, I reminded them that it was their fault, since they themselves hadn't done enough to make real Islam known in the West. Their silence left a vacuum into which any religious faker could step and mislead our people.
Okay, so I always wondered that right there about what he just talked about. I always wondered what was the difference between like Muslim people that are Muslim, right? Like, you know, Muslim people, like the ones we know around the world, and like the Nation of Islam, like like being a regular like Muslim person and practicing Islam or whatever it's called, however they say it, I don't want to say it wrong. And then like the Nation of Islam, like the people with the fruit bags and the bean pies, right? Y'all know y'all wondered that shit too. Let's go.
This lends to a plethora of conspiracy theories that have always dogged the black political pretty much since the NOI came into prominence, and actually a little bit before. We'll get into that later. Whether this is the myth of the gay agenda and the feminization of black men, or aliens, and some of these brothers are flat earthers, and of course, we can't ignore the rampant anti-Semitism.
The satanic Jews, they control everything and mostly everybody.
Farrakhan has been peddling anti-Semitic conspiracy theories that he himself inherited probably from Marcus Garvey, who we'll talk about a little later, for pretty much the entire time he's been prominent.
I was like,
now,
what?
Understand, there are significant issues between
man.
black and Jewish people in America that have never really been fully processed or digested between either group, and there are many reasons to critique these issues among black and Jewish people. The problem is that the person often leading that critique has been Louis Farrakhan, but instead of leading it with analysis on economics and urban issues, it's mostly been just lazy conspiracy theories that go back to the protocols of Zion.
It is now becoming apparent that there were many Israelis and Zionist Jews in key roles in the 9/11 attack.
Farrakhan's anti-Semitism speaks so loudly that it makes it impossible for others with better takes and better frames of analysis on the issue to speak up. This constant anti-Semitic nonsense has influenced many fringe, I repeat, fringe black political ideologies that have sadly in recent times escaped to the surface due to folks like Ye and Kyrie Irving bringing what have always been fringe ideologies to the forefront through their celebrity status. And I'm repeating fringe for a couple of reasons. One, because I know some of these dudes are going to watch the video and they're going to respond, explain how this is me showing my alignment to white liberals, completely ignoring the fact that black people, the whole of black American culture, has always satirized and comedically characterized these types of dudes, the weird way they come off, their ridiculous conspiracy theories, and pretty much everything about them.
Turn that poop into what? Turn that poop into what?
I'm skin, ain't you? Can you tap that white girl for me? Oh. Oh. After the devil made you, he broke the mold.
To the point where I'm starting to realize how harmful they are, because they have stolen a legacy of black political thought and Pan-Africanism and turned it into what we pejoratively call hoteps. But I'll come back to that in a second. That in mind, I want to be clear, though, that Farrakhan's anti-Semitism and, say, Alex Jones's anti-Semitism that is traditionally white supremacist are not the same. They don't come from the same root causes. They don't have the same end goals. This is important to understand because I know a lot of you get all hot and bothered by the idea of finding a Blittler to content farm, and we'll try to make lazy, uninformed comparisons between these fringe black ideologies and the mainstream white media news outlets that peddle the same thing. Both forms of anti-Semitism are harmful and deserve critique, but Alex Jones was a huge media figure for years before lawsuits finally took him down a few pegs just a couple of years ago. Meanwhile, Farrakhan hasn't been on mainstream TV in well over a decade, and Tucker Carlson, who is still putting out anti-Semitic nonsense, is the most watched news anchor in all of American TV. These two things are not the same, but that's literally a future video. Getting away from the easy stuff is the fact that Farrakhan and the NOI have been prophesying this doomsday future revolutionary upheaval that they will help, guide black people through after some type of calamity that finally causes the powers that be or the aliens to come back to Earth and start to really address the needs of black people or something. I don't exactly get what it is, but here's the thing. If there ever were some type of super societal breaking calamity, the NOI will probably have the most significant set of resources in all of Black America, right? Because they got it. The NOI has a pretty significant security force called the Fruit of Islam, who I have seen put in work many a time. They are not to be played with, which is one of the reasons I'm a little scared to do this video. But, you know, I'm sure that people will be okay with a little bit of critique. And the fruit of Islam are not new. In fact, it's the fruit of Islam that was probably at the root of why Malcolm X left the NOI back in the 1960s. After Malcolm X had spent several years working with the NOI, he began to be disillusioned and frustrated with the fact that they would always talk about things they were going to do, and they had every resource necessary to do some of those things in terms of being direct action against the state. But the NOI never bothered to actually do anything. After falling out with the NOI, he actually went on his pilgrimage to Mecca, and when he came back, that moment of traveling the world opened his eyes to just how false the NOI's doctrine. And he came home to America, really a burgeoning leftist, if you pay attention to how his rhetoric was developing at the time. He began to reject the black separatist philosophies of the NOI.
Despite the fact that I tried to protect the Muslim movement, if you'll notice, they use their newspaper to slander me and to label me as a hypocrite and as a rebel. And Mr. Muhammad himself said that I defected. Well, in reality, I never even left the Muslim movement. They put me out.
The NOI was not at all happy with this and constantly levied threats in his direction, threats that eventually came to fruition as Malcolm X was assassinated by NOI members in February of 1965.
1 minute later, he was shot down by 10 bullets. 18 minutes later, he was dead. For Malcolm X, too, the chickens had come home to roost.
We're very shocked yesterday on hearing of Malcolm's death. We have known Malcolm for quite a few years.
One of the ugliest rumors about Farrakhan is that he may have had something to do with Malcolm X's murder. Farrakhan had a lot to gain from Malcolm X being out of the picture and has clearly since then emerged as the face of the NOI and the most powerful political force among black people in the world for the last 50 or 60 years. And by rumor, I mean complete alleged fact, because this man admitted on live TV that he definitely contributed in some way to the forces that eventually led to Malcolm X's death.
Yes, it is true that black men pulled the trigger. We cannot deny any responsibility. Where our hands are a part of this, we beg God's mercy and forgiveness. Perhaps a healing can come to Miss Shabazz and her family. As I may have been complicit in words that I spoke leading up to February 21st, I acknowledge that and regret that any word that I have said caused the loss of life of a human being.
Just this past week, Atala Shabazz gave me her reaction to the meeting.
He
Quote,
always heard them rumors
he's never
about
admitted
him
this
having
before, publicly,
something
until
to
now.
do with it.
He's never caressed my father's children. I thank him for acknowledging his culpability, and I wish him peace.
It's so crazy to me when I went back. Like, I've known this because, you know, I'm from Chicago and I grew up in these communities. So, like, we all know that Farrakhan was alleged Malcolm X's assassination. But, I didn't remember this video clip. And, like, when I watched this, it's like, y'all, he admitted he alleged shit. Why does he get a pass for this? Why is this, like, something we're not supposed to talk about? This man helped allege Malcolm X, and he probably did it with the feds. Y'all. And we don't know this for a fact, but we do know that the men who were initially arrested and convicted of Malcolm X's murder were NOI members, but they also themselves were recently released, and now the Shabazz family, Malcolm X's children and grandchildren, are suing the CIA, the FBI, and a bunch of other alphabet groups because they recognize that there was definitely some type of cover-up in Malcolm X's assassination. A cover-up that, you know, we don't know exactly who killed Malcolm X, much like many people from that time period where assassinations were happening all the time in the 1960s. But you'd be a fool to think that Minister Farrakhan himself doesn't have a decent idea of what really happened there and just hasn't told the truth about it. Considering all of this, how has this man and his movement been allowed to be emblematic of the black radical tradition for the last 50 or 60 years? To me, The answer is quite simple, but just hard to swallow, which is that Farrakhan, while excellent on all these other forms, is really an extremely effective tool for the status quo because he's such a big distraction.
The satanic Jews.
I grew up in Chicago under the Islamic practices of Warif D. Muhammad, the actual legitimate son of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who created the NOI years before all this happened. Warif D. Muhammad was supposed to be in Farrakhan's place. He was expected to take over the NOI after Elijah Muhammad died, but Warif D. Muhammad rejected the NOI pretty early on in his life because of its black supremacist doctrines and cultist ways. Warif sought to lead black people toward Orthodox Islam. He took what was left of the NOI and took it into traditional Islam in Chicago.
Minister Farrakhan, you were once one of the nation's most visible and articulate spokesmen, but it seems you've had a low profile since Wallace D. Muhammad assumed the leadership of the organization. Is that by design, if it's true?
Well, I think that
Right after Warif D. Muhammad kind of shut the initial NOI down, Louis Farrakhan came behind Warif D. Muhammad and reformed the NOI in its original form. This created a conflict between them that eventually was healed in the early 2000s, but it's a well-understood reality among actual Muslims and black Muslims that there's always been some conflict between these two communities because the truth of the matter is the Nation of Islam isn't really Islam much at all, if you know the reality behind the organization. And while W.D. Muhammad was no socialist, he was a true spiritual leader and was much more moderate and collectivist in his rhetoric. He wasn't the bombastic and inflammatory figure that Farrakhan was, which you would think would make him more popular to the status quo and the powers that be. But that's not what happened. Instead, it's Farrakhan who was able to, again, take this inflammatory, often anti-Semitic rhetoric and rise to the top of black political thought during this time period.
Farrakhan, because he's not really challenging the economic hierarchy of capital, he's not making any demands of policy, he's not actually doing anything but calling out, quote-unquote racism, the Jews, and maybe some aspects of American imperialism that, interfere with his international connection. He's a perception of radicalism that challenges nothing. So he's a perfect foil for the political moment in the rising 80s and 90s, an increase in neoliberalization of black politics, because he creates, just like much of hip hop, this perception of radicalism that challenges nothing. It doesn't challenge capital. It doesn't demand the state to make a redistributive policy. It doesn't challenge corporate power. And it doesn't do anything to challenge the way in which race is used within a capitalist hierarchy to perpetuate the immiseration of large segments of the black community. So he becomes a perfect tool to maintain the status quo because his charade of radicalism keeps black people clapping while it actually doesn't allow them to demand or challenge anything.
The reality is that Farrakhan is more useful and less dangerous to the establishment politics and status quo than he and his followers would like you to think. Right. What makes Farrakhan as a problem is that he inherited these radical traditions around black power, black nationalism, etc., in possibly the worst possible way. The Nation of Islam has roots in Garveyism, i.e. the teachings of Marcus Garvey, who was a prominent black political figure of the early 1900s and one of...
Yeah, so it's crazy because, I think what he was kind of saying in a sense, without really saying it, kind of go to the reason to kind of like when you look at somebody like Kanye West, right? And you look at like why he a billionaire and he got, all these people respect Kanye West, like all these people that otherwise don't even like black people. He get to do all this business. They call him a genius and all that, but he only sell retail products and shit like that, right? And don't do nothing to really improve the human condition. It's like they like people that could be rebels without a cause. You know what I'm saying? They just know how to get people to follow them, even if people not really following them nowhere. Even if they not getting nothing done, it's like get people to feel like they rebelling, but they not really challenging nothing. They not really changing nothing. Kanye West will be like, yeah, the racist Jews or, you know what I'm saying, something like that. How you get back at them? By buying my shoes or whatever, just some shit. You know what I mean? It don't be nothing like, yeah, I'm gonna help y'all build up or nothing like that. So they saying that Farrakhan might have just been a useful tool, man. And I said, but I thought about it and I was like, man, it kind of make a lot of sense. Annette say, which is sad because they could actually use the followers to do good. Yeah, nah, they like the people that's good at using their charisma and their influence to get people all worked up for nothing, towards nothing. You know what I mean? Get them worked up, but don't mobilize them. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people would be like, man, yeah, Kanye was right about the Jews and this and that and the third. And now what? Now nothing. Now you just got somebody to be mad about and listen to what he tell you to be mad about next. And the next thing he'll tell you to be mad about is if you don't buy the new pair of Yeezys. You know what I'm saying? The latest Yeezys, like, he hates you or God don't love you or something like that. Then he throw a little God in there. They like that shit. They like, yes, Kanye's a genius. Splendid. Like, they give us them leaders like that. You know what I'm saying? And that's what they're kind of saying about Farrakhan. I had to think about it like, damn, man. I ain't want to accept that shit. I ain't want to hear that. Man. But it was hard to hear. But I guess, the truth hurt, man. And it ain't just that, it's that you can't really make a change without really recognizing the truth of the matter and not really just running with the narrative, even if the narrative is easier to digest. And with these multiple black women dying in New Orleans, it's kind of like the same thing. You know what I'm saying? It's the narrative versus the truth. Let's go. Come on. My clip wanna be acting crazy. Hold on, y'all. Really? Let's try and refresh it. YouTube been acting. It's just ever since this new OBS update, this shit been acting nuts, man. I promise. I'm trying to give it some time. Am I not getting? And it's like I can't refresh it or nothing like that either because it's already refreshed. Hold on. Yeah, exit page, man. The fuck? If you're not gonna let me fucking reload this shit, I hate YouTube, man. I hate they whole fucking back in all this shit. Then look and tell me to exit, then it won't even let me exit the shit. Like, come on, man. Stop fucking playing with me. You say you'll have your shit all set up just for YouTube to fuck you over. I hate you, YouTube. Then y'all shadow ban my boxing video on some bullshit. Hold on once, man. Let me see if I could try to get back to this shit. Boom. Nope. Yep. Jesus. Offer what? And then it be unkilled and shit. Like, this shit some house shit.
While driving, and in both cases, children were in the line of fire. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Devin Bartolotta.
And I'm Sharice Gibson. About an hour ago, police told us a woman was shot.
So, how about those fucking... How about Miami? How about the Heat? How about the Heat?
While she was driving in the 8th Ward, 2 young kids were in the backseat of her vehicle.
This was just hours after another woman was killed.
Oh my God. What the hell? I don't know what's going on, y'all. Honestly, I don't know what's going on. So I do not know. Shadow banning, like they'll make it so your stuff don't show up in the algorithm and shit like that. Like I had a video one day, got like 1,300 views, and then the next day my video, and I got almost like 470 followers. The video ain't even get like 25 views in like a long time. Like that, it'll just get more than that in the coming across, like people just coming across it in the algorithm and shit. Then it's like dumb shit like this going on. Like I try to click on a video and it just keep on booting me out this motherfucker.
Another
like,
woman was killed on Orleans and Broad with her child in the backseat. Eleanor Tabone has been following the violence today and is live now at the scene of the most recent shooting.
She looked
That's
crazy
right,
as
Devin
hell.
and Sharice. I'm here at North Robertson's and St. Ferdinand Street. I'm going to step out the way so we can show you still a very active scene here. Just before 8 o'clock, police were called to this intersection. A woman was driving in this car you see that's still located at the scene when she was shot in the upper body. 2 kids were also in the car. We don't know their relation to the woman, but there was a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. Now, they both suffered minor injuries from the debris. Now, all of them were taken to the hospital. You can still see that this intersection is blocked off, but the overpass over the train tracks has just reopened moments ago. That was all blocked off. But as we mentioned earlier, this is the second time today, Devin and Sharice, that a woman who was also had children in the car has been shot.
That was April 25th, 2 different situations. Fortunately for the woman in the second case, she survived. But the woman in the first case, 33-year-old Sully Simmons, did not.
Damn.
Sully, that's absolutely correct. Now, family members of 33-year-old Sully Simmons tell me that she was an amazing mother. She was an amazing daughter. She was an amazing sister. Now, witnesses at the scene yesterday just kind of talk about how they witnessed a white Nissan following closely behind the mom as she left from a nearby gas station. Her son, her 2-year-old son, unfortunately having to witness the unthinkable.
All I can say is some guys pull up on her in front of the door, and there's riddled the car with bullets.
A dad heartbroken at the loss of his daughter, Sully Simmons. Lionel Simmons says he believes his daughter may have been killed over a misunderstanding.
I hate to speculate on it, but you know, it was another incident that happened that she was actually no part of. She had nothing to do with. But for some reason, they think she did.
Mayor LaToya Cantrell offering her condolences. But ultimately, this is what she had to say when asked about the shooting.
What we are seeing is that people who are in these violent acts or associated with are also associated with some criminal activity in the city of New Orleans.
Simmons didn't want to go into detail about the situation, but says his daughter was innocent.
Anything you asked her for, she had
was just completely innocent,
it was stunning. Beyond words, we don't even know what to think of
Minding her business, right?
But this isn't the only time Lionel and his family have had to grieve a daughter. In 2008, his other daughter, Cody Simmons, also killed due to gun violence, shot while also inside a vehicle. She was pregnant at the time. Just so happens it was Cody's birthday Tuesday. Sully posting this photo of herself with Cody on Instagram, just before the mom was slain later the same day.
She loved her sister beyond
They
that.
whole family just
From what I
getting
understand,
killed.
she might have even gone to her gravesite yesterday morning.
The sister
Her
got
report is
killed,
that I
then the
lost
mama
2
got
daughters
killed
to
the same
this
day.
gun violence.
You know, I hate to say it, but I have to because I just have to tell the truth here. What none of them are talking about is how Sully was tied to some dangerous activities. She was arrested just 2 years before she was ran down in the streets, accused of shooting another woman in the leg. So yeah, no one at the local media, no one on social media would tell you this because it doesn't fit the narrative. They'll just show this.
Just someone getting killed outside of the store. It's very tragic, very.
Katie and Sharice, a neighbour I just spoke to moments ago, said he's seen the victim outside and in this neighbourhood very regularly. He's seen her and the child. He had nothing bad to say about her, said she just goes about her daily business going to and from work.
The narrative that these nice, good women...
So it's like they supposed to be, you know, just not doing nothing and people just shooting at them. You know, I ain't buying that, dude. That's like you said, and that like that's too much of a coincidence. And people ain't just getting shot at like that. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody, not even dudes, ain't just getting shot at like that. But you know, that and I ain't gonna say, you know, like her and her sister, they looked like they was some fine girls. Like I could see a lot of dudes. Them being the type of girls a lot of dudes try to talk to.
Who just sit in the house all day preparing
Like
gumbo and red
dudes, you know
beans
what I'm
and
saying,
rice,
dudes
or
on the
being
street.
randomly taken out. That just sit in the house all day preparing gumbo.
Daily business going to and from work.
The narrative that these nice, good women who just sit in the house all day preparing gumbo and red beans and rice are being randomly taken out, that's a narrative. But unfortunately, it's not true. Then Mother's Day weekend, the local media brought up another case. It was a cold case from a year ago to add to 2 other targeted incidents leading up to Mother's Day.
A double shooting in New Orleans last year left a teenager dead and her friend hurt. Police said they were targeted as they were sitting in a car.
Since then, there have been no answers as to who's responsible. Mike McDaniel continues our series, Cold Case.
Kimberly Gentry never thought one of her kids would be the victim of a violent crime. She says they're just not troublemakers and had no reason to believe when one of her daughters left home with a friend, she'd never come back. A double shooting during the afternoon has left the family pleading for answers.
I picked it out. I got it made for her, but she kind of went with the design.
Kimberly Gentry still has the prom dress her daughter wore as a high school senior. It was a time of celebration. Gentry says her daughter was looking forward to the future. But a year and a half later, 19-year-old Paige Tarragano was killed in a double shooting not far from her New Orleans East home.
That's crazy. They shooting these, man, they ain't caring who in the car when they shooting these cars.
It happened back in September outside a tire shop on Chef Highway in the Plum Orchard area. Gentry says her daughter was getting a tire fixed with a friend. That's when police say several men opened fire.
My 15-year-old daughter said, "Mom, don't come here. They have yellow tape everywhere."
Gentry says Tarragano was still in the car when she got there, but police wouldn't let her see her.
They asked me, did she have a butterfly tattoo on the side of her leg? I was like, yeah. They was like, that's her.
Tarragano died at the scene. Her friend was shot in the head but survived. She's the niece of City Councilman Oliver Thomas.
From what everything we know and we've heard, it was targeted. It was a hit. It wasn't her car, but they still targeted her.
Not knowing who they are is the hardest part.
Every day I'm scared because I don't know.
You had a lot of focus on stories surrounding females in New Orleans being targeted. These stories took over the media that Mother's Day weekend, starting with May 11th.
Ricky Williams in the building, he say, targeted my ass, aka someone knew who they was. They acting like these females ain't out here wilding. Man, that's what I'm talking about. Annette say, you never know what people are into. Most can hide it very well, and they probably did, but not good enough. Yeah, yep. Shit. They ain't caring.
The same day they aired this cold case, you have the case of Asia Davis, who lost her life that morning in a targeted attack. And then later on that night, just after midnight, 2
Hold on, is they finna say these 2 girls got killed too?
20-year-old women lost their lives too.
What? What the
Some tragic
fuck?
news now for two families going into this Mother's Day weekend.
Two women murdered in cold blood early this morning as they left a bar in Tremay. They were there celebrating milestones in their lives, but unfortunately, their lives ended shortly after.
WDSU reporter Shay O'Connor is live at the intersection of North Claiborne and St. Philip, where it all happened. Shay?
Stella and Gina, behind me, a growing memorial for the two women shot and killed earlier this morning here along North Claiborne. This surveillance video shows the moments at least 4 women are seen leaving from the hookah joint on North Claiborne. I'm told one of the women was set to graduate from Nunez College on Tuesday. She was there to celebrate that milestone. The other woman was celebrating her 20th birthday.
It was just supposed to be a good time, and it ended up just, unfortunately, 30 minutes before the party was going to end, that's when we heard the shots fired.
The suspect, who appears to be hiding here at the corner of St. Philip Street, is seen running towards the women firing shots. They run across the street underneath the Claiborne Bridge. He continues to follow them, firing more shots. One woman drops. What happens next is too graphic for WDSU to show. This angle shows the women walking from the venue before others are seen running from the shots being fired.
There was some crying. You could hear girls outside like screaming. I saw a couple girls like drop to the floor when they found out what was going on.
In the parking lot under the bridge, several vehicles also.
Look, man, they was up to some shit. Fuck that. I ain't, and you know, like RIP. First of all, let me say this. Let me say RIP, you know what I'm saying? To the dead and everything like that. But time out, man. Time out. This shit right here is ridiculous. First of all, there's plenty of girls getting killed. Second of all, they all kind of got that same look. Third of all, like, you best believe I'm gonna tell you this for a fact, cause I'm up in Wisconsin. I remember this chick breaking down to me. I'm gonna give y'all this backstory real fast. I remember this chick breaking down to me or whatever. She was crying and shit. And she was, matter of fact, I was fucking with her friend. We all went to high school together. This girl come to her crying and all that and talking about she don't know what she gonna do. She trying to figure out what she gonna do and this and that and the third. She feel like she don't know which way her life is going, all this and that. The girl I'm fucking with, they was like best friends. She was like, what's up? What you talking about? And she was like, she start fucking with this dude or these dudes. She start fucking with this dude and he was kicking it with these other dudes. And basically, they had her setting niggas up. And apparently, the last time they did that shit, you know what I'm saying, it must have went sideways and somebody ended up, you know what I'm saying, unalived or whatever. But I'm talking about this girl. If you was to see this girl, you wouldn't think nothing like that. You would think this is a normal girl. She ain't involved in none of that. Just like all these girls they just showed. They look regular. They don't look like they involved in none of that shit. But when you fuck with these type of dudes that be on that type of shit trying to rob motherfuckers, man, they gonna have your ass moving they dope. They gonna have your ass setting motherfuckers up, all type of shit. Your parents not gonna know. Your people not gonna know. You know what I'm saying? But you gonna do that shit, you gonna think that shit cute. And when they catch up to you, it's gonna be a cold motherfucking case. You know what I'm saying? Cause this, man, they getting picked off down there in New Orleans. And the way them shootings happened that they was talking about, them niggas they slid on them hoes. Like they rolled down, slid on them, and in both situations tried to finish them. Like it wasn't no like, oh, we was just shooting. No, they tried to finish him. They said in the one thing, it was too graphic for them to show what happened next after he ran the chicks down. You know what I'm saying? Rick said it's like them two girls that went to that other girl house starting static. Some people about that action. That's why respect is paramount. And she say it seemed like roles changing. Females nowadays trying to act big and bad like a man. Now they getting treated like a man. You play that role, better be ready for the consequences. She saying they saying he like they know it was a dude. It walked like a girl to me. Man, I don't know, man. Like, but it's so crazy though, man. Like, this shit ain't no coincidence, bro. These girls be involved in shit. They don't look like it, but they do.
also hit with gunfire from what appears to be an automatic weapon.
It's just sad, but it happens all over New Orleans, so you don't know where it's going to happen.
David says he and his wife were sleeping when they heard what sounded like bombs.
But if you're right where the water spots is, there's still blood still on the ground right now. They didn't wash it all. Me and my wife was laying in bed. Like I said, it happened by about 1:30, something like that.
Just accept everything.
It sounded like about 10.
They just full of just culture. They be like, yeah, blood's still around there right now, down on the ground.
The bullets flew through the area, some ripping through cars and even Davis Sterling's house. But he says it's not the first time.
The holes in the side from them shooting on this corner, and bullets went through the wall, went through my speakers, by my couch.
My guy Platinum say he grew up with some chicks who was all related, and they all ended up drug mules. Yeah, nah, that shit is real, bro. I swear to God, Planet. Like,
and, somebody in my house could have got shot.
I've seen shit like that too.
So I'm really upset about it, but as before, we can't do nothing about it.
Everybody in the family.
Now, 2 young women are dead, according to several social media posts. One, a mother who is about to become a nurse.
This comes just a day after yet another woman was shot and killed in the Seabrook neighborhood.
They've been spending a lot of time around a white Jeep that we've seen them flashing flashlights on it. I did see some detectives with some evidence markers and evidence bags being picked up, and also still talking to some people who are still here on scene about what transpired here earlier this morning when they got that call at 1:31 of a shooting here in this area. Again, details are very limited, but we do know once they did get on scene, they found 2 women with gunshot wounds. They transported them to the hospital where they died shortly after they arrived.
That's crazy, bro. That's crazy. Like, look, I'ma say this like this, right? Like, it's a certain line that you cross now. You know what I'm saying? Like, I hear a lot of people saying it, like they'll say like, oh, well, I'm a civilian, or I'm this, I'm that. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like that's how it works. It don't really matter, male, female, once you get in the game, you know what I'm saying? You are subject to it. It ain't, I would say back in the days, it was a little bit more like rules to it, but now it don't seem like no rules. It don't seem like we got a lot of OGs. It don't seem like, it's like anybody they know got something on them is game. I even heard a song, they be talking about smoking their enemies, like smoking them in a blunt, and they was talking about smoking the chick. Like, it was some New York drill rappers. I'm like, man, these motherfuckers crazy. And he say, plan to say none of the three chicks grew up in the hood either. All cute and one of them very attractive. Bro, them be the ones, man. Them be the ones. And if you look at these girls right here, like for example, look at the car they got caught in when they got shot up, right? That motherfucking, that Rubicon, the Rubicon that they was in, them motherfuckers cost money, bro. That's like a $40,000 car. You know what I'm saying? That's a nice ass Jeep right there. Like, these is good, quote unquote, good girls. You know what I'm saying? But what the good girls think they want to be involved with these street dudes, or how they call it and shit. Them niggas really ain't. They not. You romanticizing that shit. Them niggas are trying to live a short life. To them, old age is like 20, 21. You know what I'm saying? So get that and keep that in mind. You know what I'm saying? Them niggas ain't trying to see 25 and shit like that. You know what I mean? And it's just so crazy, man, to see that shit happening out here. Like, they make it seem like it's a lot of just random violence and shit, but people be out here in the shit. Annette say, them be the ones naive and ready to do anything a man tell them to. Yeah, nah. I mean, you know what? It's 2 ways that shit work. Okay. And that's gonna lead me into this last clip I really want y'all to see about the Cash App founder or whatever, because you got people that like grew up in the hood or whatever, right? And so it's like, okay, I'm gonna normalize this shit. That's not. I know it ain't really good, but I'm gonna normalize it. Oh, this nigga doing this, he doing that, he living like that, whatever. It's normal. I'm gonna normalize that shit. I'm gonna roll with him. I be hearing this song on the radio that be like, I don't care if he run the streets, long as he's coming home to me. Like, that's what girls be wanting to be on, some shit like that. They want a nigga that really ain't thinking about his future, because that way he gonna spend that money on your ass. He gonna blow that shit, and when he go to jail, whatever happened to him, get killed, whatever, you just find a new one just like him. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of them things, man. And y'all heard about the Cash App founder getting killed, right? So apparently people was talking about he was involved in some shit, like they was doing, you know, a lot of these rich people, right? They get involved in these type of situations too, where they get to do a lot of shit and people don't really care because they got this money. You know what I'm saying? So apparently he got involved in some shit. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't exactly running the streets or nothing like that, but you got to think about it like this, man. Rich people, they get, like, you can eat the nicest food. Once you ate the nicest thing to eat 5 times a week, it ain't that nice. It's normal. Once you got all the newest cars, it's normal. So I seen this myself firsthand. Rich people, they get bored, and what they start to want to do with their money is do shit with people. You know what I'm saying? And try to use their money to control people. It's so many nice objects. It's only so many nice objects, material objects you could buy. You want to start using your money to control people. And it seemed like it was one of them type of situations that got the Cash App founder dude murdered. You know what I'm saying? He had some crazy shit going on. Like he was fucking with some dude, girlfriend. He was fucking with this dude, girlfriend, and then he was fucking with the dude's sister who was married. You know what I'm saying? And this was like some Indian, like they was like an Indian family though, like a traditional ass family. And dude just came through throwing the money, probably pressuring them, like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, man. This shit get crazy when that money get involved, man. But that's what happened to him, you know?
In San Francisco back in March, prosecutors allege that the man behind the killing of Bob Lee, that's the tech executive, is a guy named Nima Momeni. And the Wall Street Journal did a pretty lengthy piece on this story, kind of diving into who Nima Momeni is and what the possible motive could be for him to carry out this horrible alleged crime. Now, he is facing charges. That case has not been settled yet, but prosecutors are in fact going after Momeni. And it does seem like there's some clear evidence and a motive here. Lee was allegedly sleeping with Momeni's married sister. Her name is Kazar. Now, before we get into the details, who was Bob Lee? Well, he worked at Google, and he helped write code for the Android operating system. Later, he was named the chief technology officer for Square, where he helped design the company's popular Cash App, which is a Venmo competitor. Then he left the company back in 2014. At the time of his death, he was working as chief product officer for a crypto startup known as MobileCoin. Friends described him as a multimillionaire, although his net worth could not be confirmed. Now, with that said, let's talk about what happened, like who the suspect is and what the potential motive in that case could be. So the suspect seems to be a pretty jealous and insecure person. So Nima Momeni and Lee crossed over a woman, apparently, according to Keith Kraft, a friend of both the woman and Lee. Kraft said he recalled hanging out once with the woman and Momeni kept shooting him threatening glances as if he might steal the friend away from him. Finally, Kraft said he told him, "Look, bro, I'm gay. I'm not a threat to you." He later told the Wall Street Journal that he really felt that Momeni had some deep-seated insecurity. Now, after the friend broke up with Momeni, the girl in question in this whole scenario, she later began seeing Bob Lee, the man who was murdered, stabbed to death in San Francisco. At another point, following a breakup with a longer-term girlfriend, Lee told friends that he was casually sleeping with Nima Momeni's sister, Kazar Momeni, according to people familiar with their relationship. Momeni was married, but the relationship had possibly been in jeopardy, prosecutors have alleged in court documents. So Nima Momeni's sister is in fact married to a pretty prominent plastic surgeon who operates out of San Francisco. Friends of Lee said he told them that he was casually sleeping with Kazar Momeni, 37 years old. Before that, about 3 years ago, Lee was together with a woman that Nima Momeni also had dated. So it seems like there could be some potential jealousy issues and, a brother being overprotective of his sister.
Hold on, time out. Okay, so check it out. You got the millionaire tech dude, right? The coding dude. And then you got like, y'all, I told y'all, I said y'all hear them names, right? So I don't know if y'all know this, but a lot of people come over here, especially like Iranians, Middle Easterners like that on visas, work visas, working in the tech field. A lot of the Silicon Valley is a lot of like young Indians, Iranians, they good with like technology and coding and stuff like that, right? So when I hear them names and I look at the white dude and he say that, he was talking to the one chick, the Momeni dude's girlfriend or friend or whatever, and then he was fucking the sister who was married, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, you was terrorizing this dude. You was talking to like 2 different girls that he was trying to talk to at 2 different times. You went behind them twice with 2 different girls. Then you start fucking on this sister who was married to somebody. And you just telling people that you just casually be just messing with his sister. Like, bro, it ain't no consequences for you because obviously you a rich tech dude or whatever. But, man, you know how that probably go over in their family or what they probably do to their sister. So, dude messed around and stabbed, unalived the Cash App dude over some shit like that.
Prosecutors allege that on the afternoon of April 3rd, Lee met with Kazar Momeni at a house party in San Francisco, and that's when things began to go awry. And I'll tell you how in just a moment. Jake, I want to give you an opportunity to jump in.
Yeah, so look, the drama of this story is fascinating, and who's sleeping with who and who's killing who, etc.
And you think, these
among the
people
super wealthy in San Francisco. But to me, an even more interesting part of the story was the culture. And one of the things I got out of the culture is they have so much money. They just don't know what to do with it, right?
That's gonna be my next soundbite right there. Hold on.
And one of the things I got out of the culture of San Francisco, but to me, an even more interesting part of the story was the culture. And one of the things I got out of the culture is they have so much money. They just don't know what to do with it, right?
Yeah.
And so
like I told you, that's what I told you.
Very open-hearted. Seems like a really good guy. And so he.
I mean, yeah, hold on, I'm gonna go in a little bit over, so I'm gonna kind of cut off right there. But nah, so it's one of them things. Like I said, you got all that money and you feel like you could do anything, and you get used to doing anything and everything and just moving however you want to move, and people will let you move that way sometimes, but it's still gonna be some consequences. Everything you do, all your actions gonna have some consequences. Now, the dude was moving in a certain way, you know what I'm saying? He had money, everybody around him pretty much was probably working for his company or like people that, nobody really had to answer to like that. So he was just moving like whatever, but it's one of them situations where, he ended up unalived, and you would think, oh man, it was just random. It's just they murdering people out here, they killing people all because he had money and this and that. No, he was into some shit. Like with them girls, oh man, they just killing girls. No, they was into some shit. You know what I mean? People was out here, they getting into stuff, and it seemed like, it's always the sex, the money, the murder always go together and shit. You know what I mean? It's just crazy, man. Let me see. SC's critical race, education exposed. That's how well. Yeah, but hold up. Let me see. Inside, activists attack majority black schools. Yeah, that's trash. But no, it's just crazy, man. That it's even like that though. But a lot of these things that happen ain't random though. It's cool to just say this stuff is random. And people that say it is, and they just say, oh, it's just crime in general, man. Shit, crime don't just be happening and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? They got to be something that facilitated. And a lot of these times, man, people setting people up, people stabbing people in the back, doing all type of stuff. You know what I mean? And that's where we at today. But Yeah, man, I want to get into that, and even how I tie into the thing with Louis Farrakhan. I ain't go into it in depth, but they talked more on that video about how he might have been behind, well, how he admitted he was behind what happened to Malcolm X, but he elaborated on it. He elaborated on it a little bit more, and it's the money again. It come down to the money, the power, the influence. Once he got Malcolm X out the way, that's when Louis Farrakhan rose up. But that's all alleged, though. I'm not putting nothing on him or the Nation of Islam or nothing like that. So don't shadow ban me. I don't want to see no niggas in no black suits out here. You know what I'm saying? It appears Mac World Media is ran by the Lion Juices. No, I can't even say it because they'll try and ban my channel for even saying it as a joke. Or not ban my channel, but shadow ban it. But yeah, shout out to everybody. Shout out to Annette. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Ricky Williams checking in, you know what I'm saying? Winning team representing and shit. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Went a little bit over, man. But we gotta get it in. We gotta make sure that talk about these topics. And we gonna be back tomorrow with some more shit. So I'm gonna leave it off today by saying, don't just think a lot of this stuff going on is random, man. A lot of these people, if you look, it's about who you surround yourself with, the situations you put yourself in, and your personal choices you make. You know what I mean? But that's all I got for y'all today. Appreciate y'all checking me out, man. Until tomorrow, I'm gone, y'all. Later.